The knock came during dinner prep, while I was chopping carrots for Nolan's birthday stew. Through the kitchen window, late afternoon sunlight caught the copper wind chimes Sarah had made in third grade, sending warm reflections dancing across my cutting board. Coming. I wiped my hands and headed for the door, expecting Mrs. Peterson returning another borrowed casserole dish. Instead, a woman I'd never seen before stood on my porch, her manicured fingers fidgeting with an expensive-looking handbag. Mrs.
Hartwell.
Her voice was soft but steady. I'm Camille Rivers. I need to speak with you about Nolan. Something in her tone made my stomach clench. He's at work. Is everything okay? May I come in? This isn't a conversation for your front porch. I hesitated, then stepped aside. As she passed, her perfume, something expensive and floral, filled the entryway. I led her to the living room, where family photos lined the walls. Sarah's graduation, our family vacation in Maine, Nolan teaching Orion to fish. Would you like some tea? I offered automatically, mother's instincts kicking in despite my unease. No, thank you. Camille perched on the edge of our worn leather couch, her designer outfit looking out of place against the familiar cushions. I've been seeing Nolan for the past 8 months. I'm pregnant, and he's the father. The words hit like a physical blow. I gripped the doorframe, steadying myself. I don't understand. We met at that real estate conference in Chicago last summer. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. I thought you should know. He's been less than honest with both of us. My eyes fixed on the screen she held out. Nolan, my husband of 27 years, kissing this stranger in what looked like a hotel lobby. The timestamp showed 3 weeks ago. Get out. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Mrs. Hartwell, Alara, I know this is difficult, but get out of my house. Louder now, steadier.
Now.
She stood, smoothing her skirt. I'll leave my number. When you're ready to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I walked to the front door, holding it open. As she passed, she slipped a business card onto the entry table. After she left, I returned to the kitchen on autopilot. The carrots sat unfinished on the cutting board, knife abandoned mid-chop. I picked it up, the familiar weight grounding me as my world tilted sideways. The garage door hummed to life. Nolan's footsteps, the same rhythm I'd known for nearly 3 decades, approached through the mudroom. Something smells good, he called out. Need any help with Elle? What's wrong? I turned slowly, still gripping the knife. Camille Rivers was just here. His face went blank for a fraction of a second, just long enough to confirm everything. Then, who? Don't. The knife clattered into the sink. Don't you dare lie to me. Elle, whatever she told you. Is she pregnant? His silence was answer enough. I watched his face, searching for the man I'd married, the father of my children. Instead, I saw a stranger wearing my husband's features. I can explain, he started, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me.
Don't.
My voice broke. The stew's ruined. You'll need to find somewhere else for dinner.
And tonight.
And I swallowed hard. And after that too. Alara, please. We can work this out. Think about the kids, I am thinking about the kids. I met his eyes. I'm thinking about what kind of example I want to set for our daughter. For our son. I picked up Camille's business card from where I'd brought it to the kitchen.
Here.
You forgot something. I pressed the card into his hand and walked upstairs, leaving him standing in our kitchen, surrounded by the half-prepared remains of what should have been his birthday dinner. 3 days after Nolan left, Sarah showed up at the house unannounced. She stood in the doorway, her father's stubborn chin jutting forward as she clutched her phone. Dad called me. Her voice wavered. He said you kicked him out. I stepped aside to let her in, noting how she avoided my touch. That's not exactly what happened. He said he made a mistake, but you won't even talk to him. She paced our living room, where the familiar family photos now felt like artifacts from another life. People mess up, Mom. They deserve second chances. Sit down, sweetheart. I patted the couch beside me. There's more to it than what your father told you. Like what? She remained standing, arms crossed. He told me everything. About Camille, about. She swallowed hard. About the baby. Did he tell you about the 8 months of lies? About the business trips that weren't business trips? He's trying to make it right. Her voice cracked. Why won't you at least hear him out? My phone buzzed. Another message from Nolan. I'd stopped reading them after the 20th apology. Because this isn't just about the affair, Sarah. It's about trust, about. You're not even trying. She grabbed her purse. Dad's staying at Grandma and Grandpa's. He's miserable. He wants to come home.
Sera?
I'm having dinner with him tonight. You should come. Just talk to him. I thought of the way he'd looked in our kitchen, scrambling for excuses while wearing the watch I'd given him for our anniversary. I can't. Won't, you mean? She headed for the door, then paused. You know what the worst part is? You're acting like you're the only one hurt by this.
But what about me?
What about Orion? That's exactly why. Save it. She yanked the door open. I'll tell Dad you said hi. After she left, I sat in the quiet house, surrounded by memories that felt tainted. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Rosalind, my mother-in-law. Ilara, dear. Her familiar voice carried decades of warmth. Nolan's told us what happened. We're devastated, of course, but surely you two can work through this? For the children's sake. Rosalind. He's not perfect, dear, but he loves you. And that Camille woman, well, these young things know how to turn men's heads. I press my fingers to my temples. He's 42, not 17. And she's pregnant. Well. She paused delicately. Are we certain about that? What do you mean? Nolan says she's been unclear about details.
Dates.
Perhaps she's not being entirely truthful. Hope flickered traitorously in my chest. Has he said that? Why don't you come to dinner tonight? Sarah will be here. We can all talk this through like family. I thought of Nolan's face when Camille's name first came up, that split second of recognition before the lie. I can't, Rosalind. I'm sorry. After hanging up, I walked to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and opened Nolan's closet. His suits hung in neat rows, dry cleaning tags still attached to several. I pulled one out, checking the date. August 15th. The Chicago conference. My hands shook as I dialed the dry cleaner's number. Hi, yes. I'm calling about some suits dropped off by Nolan Hartwell. Oh, Mr.
Hartwell.
Yes, he's one of our regulars. Always needs rush service for his trips. The August 15th suits. Was that for Chicago? Chicago? No, those were for his Vegas weekend. He always goes to that casino convention in August. Been doing it for years. The phone slipped from my fingers. Casino, convention. Not real estate. Not Chicago. My gaze fell on our bedside table, where Nolan's bank statements lay unopened. With trembling fingers, I reached for the envelope, suddenly afraid of what other lies I might find. The bank statements spread across my kitchen table told a story so different from the one I'd believed. Credit card bills from casinos, cash advances, mysterious wire transfers, all hidden behind careful lies about business expenses and investment opportunities. My hands shook as I dialed our accountant's number. James? It's Ilara Hartwell. I need to know about our retirement accounts. His hesitation spoke volumes. I've been trying to reach Nolan about those. What do you mean? There were some irregular withdrawals, large ones. I assumed you knew. The room tilted sideways. How large? Most of your joint savings. About 300,000. I gripped the chair to steady myself. When? The last withdrawal was 2 weeks ago. Ilara, I'm required to tell you. There's a federal investigation pending. Something about suspicious transactions. The doorbell rang, startling me. Through the window, I saw Orion shifting nervously on the porch, home early from soccer practice. I quickly gathered the papers. Thanks, James. I'll call you back. Orion burst in before I could fully compose myself. Mom? Why are there people taking pictures of our house? What people? He dropped his sports bag, frowning. Some guys in suits. They were parked across the street, but they left when I noticed them. My phone buzzed, Nolan's number. I declined the call, only to see 3 missed calls from Sarah and 2 from Rosalind. Before I could check the messages, another call came through Camille. "Don't hang up," she said quickly. "There's something you need to know about Nolan's gambling." "I already know." "No, you don't. The baby, it wasn't just an affair. He promised to pay off my brother's gambling debts if I helped him hide money from the feds. Said he needed someone they wouldn't connect to him." The room went cold. "What are you saying?" The pregnancy was a lie. He needed a distraction, something to explain why he was moving money around.
I'm so sorry, Alara.
I never meant. Orion appeared in the doorway, his father's eyes looking back at me. "Mom? What's wrong?" "I have to go," I told Camille, hanging up. "Was that Dad?" Orion asked. "Is he coming home soon?" Before I could answer, the doorbell rang again. This time, 2 men in dark suits stood on the porch, badges in hand. "Mrs. Hartwell? I'm Agent Cooper with the FBI. We need to ask you some questions about your husband's financial activities." Orion stepped closer to me. "Mom, go upstairs, honey. Start your homework. I'll be up soon." As he reluctantly climbed the stairs, I let the agents in, their presence filling our cozy living room with an official chill. "Mrs. Hartwell, are you aware that your husband has been involved in a money laundering operation connected to several offshore gambling establishments?" I thought of all those business trips, the late-night phone calls, the way he'd insisted on handling all our finances.
No.
"We have evidence suggesting large sums were moved through your joint accounts. Did you authorize these transactions?" My phone buzzed again, Sarah. The text preview showed, "Mom, Dad's saying crazy things. He's threatening to Mrs. Hartwell." I looked up at the agents, thinking of Orion upstairs, of Sarah's angry departure, of the life I thought I'd built. "I need to call my lawyer." Agent Cooper nodded sympathetically. "Of course. But Mrs. Hartwell, you should know, your husband disappeared from his parents' house an hour ago.
If he contacts you."
My phone lit up with another text from Sarah. "He took Grandpa's gun." "Mom, please answer." The second agent stepped forward. "Mrs. Hartwell, are you all right? You've gone pale." But I couldn't respond, my eyes fixed on the final words of Sarah's text. "He says he's coming home." 6 months after Nolan's arrest, I found myself at the Cedar Grove Community Center, helping set up for the annual fundraiser. The FBI had frozen our accounts, leaving me to rebuild from scratch. Teaching art classes here helped pay the bills, though barely. "These tables need to be closer to the stage," called a voice I didn't recognize. A tall man with kind eyes was gesturing from across the room. "Sorry, I'm Aiden. New board member." "Alara," I replied, lifting my end of the table. "Though around here, I'm better known as that teacher whose husband laundered money for the mob." I hadn't meant to say it out loud, but Aiden just nodded, helping me position the table.
Yes.
"And I'm that architect whose wife died in the car accident." Small towns. Something in his matter-of-fact tone made me smile. They do love their labels. We worked in comfortable silence until my phone buzzed, a collect call from the county jail. I declined it like always. "Bad news?" Aiden asked, noticing my expression. "Just
Ghosts."
I started arranging chairs. "My daughter hasn't spoken to me since her father's sentencing. She thinks I should have stood by him." "My daughter blamed me for her mother's death for 2 years," he said quietly. "Sometimes love looks like anger when it's hurting." Before I could respond, Martha from the board bustled over. "Alara, dear, could you handle the art auction pieces? We need someone with experience to assess their value." The implied meaning was clear. Someone who wouldn't steal them. I felt my cheeks burn. "Actually," Aiden interrupted, "I need Alara's help with the lighting design. Board priority." Martha retreated, flustered. Aiden turned to me. "I'm sorry. People can be." "It's fine." I grabbed my purse. "I should go anyway. Orion has soccer practice." "Mom, speak of the devil." My son stood in the doorway, still in his uniform. "Practice got canceled. But, Sarah's outside. She wants to talk to you." My heart jumped. Through the window, I could see my daughter pacing the parking lot, looking so much like her teenage self that it hurt. Go, Aiden said softly. I'll finish up here. Outside, Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad wrote me from prison. He says
You knew about the gambling.
that you helped him hide it.
What?
He has documents, Mom. Bank transfers you signed. He says you turned on him to save yourself. My hands shook. Those signatures were for a mortgage refinancing. He told me. Stop lying. She thrust a paper at me. Look, your signature, right there on the wire transfer to Grand Casino Resort. I stared at the familiar curve of my name, remembering signing papers Nolan had rushed me through during breakfast, during Orion's games, between classes. Sarah, I never. Save it. She backed away. I'm moving to California with Ben. I can't be here anymore. Watching you pretend to be the victim when you helped destroy our family. Serafina, please. But she was already walking away, leaving me clutching a forged document that somehow looked perfectly real. Through my tears, I saw Aiden approaching cautiously. Bad news? He asked again, echoing our earlier conversation. I looked down at the paper in my hands, then at my son hovering uncertainly nearby. I need a lawyer. A good one.
And
I took a deep breath. And maybe a friend. Well, he said, his steady presence somehow making the ground feel firmer beneath my feet. You're in luck. I happen to know an excellent lawyer. And I make a decent friend, or so I'm told. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope stirring in my chest. But my phone buzzed again. Nolan's lawyer this time, reminding me that hope was a dangerous thing in a game where all the rules had changed. A year had passed since I'd first met Aiden when he slid a small velvet box across our dinner table. Orion watched with eager eyes while Isla, Aiden's daughter, filmed the moment on her phone. You don't have to answer now, Aiden said softly. But I did. The ring slipped perfectly onto my finger, and for a moment, everything felt right. Until my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the engagement. Dad wants to know if he can still walk me down the aisle.
Sarah.
My hands trembled. She's getting married? Aiden reached across the table, but before he could speak, another text arrived. Ben and I set the date. December 15th. Prisons approved Dad's temporary release for the ceremony. Mom, Orion's voice cracked with concern. What's wrong? I showed Aiden the messages.
His jaw tightened.
They can't just release him without. His lawyer arranged it. Isla interrupted, reading from her phone. Sarah just posted about it. She says,
Oh, what?
She says she wants both her fathers there. Real and chosen. The room went silent. Aiden's proposal ring suddenly felt heavy on my finger. I should call her, I said, standing. Aiden caught my hand. Think about what this means. Nolan out of prison at the wedding. He's still her father. He's also the man who forged your signature and tried to frame you for his crimes. My phone buzzed again. Rosalind this time. Nolan's so happy about the wedding. He says he hopes you and Aiden will be comfortable with the seating arrangements. Family table, of course. I stepped onto the back porch, needing air. Through the kitchen window, I could see Orion and Isla in intense discussion, while Aiden cleaned dishes with mechanical precision. His worry evident in every movement. Another text from Sarah. Ben's family is handling the expenses. Since Nolan had drained our accounts. Since I'd lost my house. Since everything we'd saved for her future had vanished into offshore gambling debts. The screen door creaked. Isla joined me, holding 2 wine glasses. Sarah and I used to be close, Before everything. We still text sometimes. You do? She nodded, handing me a glass. She's scared, Alara. She keeps asking about Dad, about how he helped me after Mom died. I think she's looking for permission to love both fathers. While one of them is trying to destroy the other's family, maybe that's why she needs this wedding so badly. To prove we can all exist in the same space without everything falling apart. My phone lit up one final time. A message from Nolan's prison email. I hear congratulations are in order. Don't worry about the wedding. I'll make sure Sarah understands exactly where everyone stands in the family hierarchy. It's the least I can do, considering everything you took from me. Isla read over my shoulder. Dad needs to see this. These aren't just threats anymore. No, I said, deleting the email. This is between me and Nolan. Ilara. I won't let him ruin another wedding. Not Sarah's. Even if it means pretending everything's fine. Sitting at that family table while I'll handle it. I twisted the engagement ring on my finger. Tell your father. Tell him I need to make a call. Isla hesitated. To who? I looked through the window at Aiden, at the family we were building, then down at my phone where Sarah's wedding announcement glowed accusingly. To Camille Rivers. It's time to find out exactly what kind of deal she made with Nolan's lawyers and why she suddenly changed her story about the money laundering. And then I decide which matters more, exposing Nolan's lies or letting Sarah have her perfect wedding day. The choice felt impossible, but as I dialed Camille's number, I realized something. Sometimes being a mother meant choosing between what was right and what was necessary. I just wasn't sure which was which anymore. The December wind cut through my thin dress as I watched Nolan walk Sarah down the aisle of the small church. His prison-issued ankle monitor peeked beneath his tailored suit pants, a detail the wedding photographer would later edit out. Aiden squeezed my hand, but I barely felt it. All I could see was Nolan's triumphant smile as he placed Sarah's hand in Ben's, then took his seat in the front row, the father's place of honor. My place was 3 rows back, next to Aiden and our children. The seating arrangement had been Sarah's idea. To avoid tension, she'd said, not meeting my eyes. The ceremony blurred past until the minister asked, "Who gives this woman in marriage?" "Her father and I do," Nolan answered alone, his voice carrying clearly through the church. I felt Isla stiffen beside me. Orion grabbed my arm as I started to rise, shaking his head slightly. Not here.
Not now.
At the reception, I watched Nolan dance with our daughter, their heads bent close in conversation. My phone buzzed, a text from Camille. Check your email. Now. In the attached video, Nolan sat in what looked like a hotel room, counting stacks of cash. The money laundering operation goes deeper than anyone knows, Camille's message continued. He's still running it from prison, through Sarah's new husband's family business. My champagne glass slipped from my fingers, shattering on the floor. Heads turned, including Nolan's. Our eyes met across the dance floor, and his smile widened. Mom, Sarah approached, her white dress catching the light. Dad wants a photo with both of us. Honey, we need to talk. About Ben's family business. Stop. Her voice turned hard. I know what you're doing. Dad warned me you might try something today. What? He told me about the fake evidence you're creating, trying to keep him in prison longer. She twisted her bouquet. I saw the doctored bank statements on your laptop. My heart stopped. What laptop? The one in your study. Dad's lawyer found them when they were gathering evidence for his appeal. The timestamps prove you've been falsifying documents. The room spun. I hadn't owned a laptop since Nolan's arrest. The FBI had taken everything, which meant, there you are. Nolan appeared, wrapping an arm around Sarah. Ready for that photo? Actually, Aiden stepped forward. I think Ilara needs some air. Nonsense. Nolan's grip on Sarah tightened. It's our daughter's wedding day. Surely we can manage one photo. Our daughter. The words escaped before I could stop them. You forged my signature, stole her college fund, and now you're using her husband's family too. Mom. Sarah jerked away from both of us. This is exactly why I didn't want you involved in the wedding planning. You can't let anything go. Sweetheart, Nolan soothed. Your mother's just having trouble accepting that people can change, that families can heal. Is that what you call framing me with fake evidence? I demanded. Healing. The music stopped. Guests stared. Ben's parents whispered among themselves. Security. Nolan called calmly. I believe we discussed this possibility. 2 men in dark suits approached. Mrs. Hartwell, please come with us. You can't be serious, Aiden started, but Sarah cut him off.
Just go, Mom. Please.
before you ruin everything else. As the guards escorted me out, I caught a glimpse of Nolan pulling our daughter close, comforting her. Through the window, I watched him raise his champagne glass in a toast, his ankle monitor glinting beneath his suit, a reminder that sometimes the prison you can see isn't the one that holds you tightest. Outside in the cold, Aiden's arms found me, but I barely felt them. All I could think about was Camille's video, the planted laptop, and the terrible realization that Nolan hadn't just stolen my daughter, he'd turned her into his strongest weapon against me. 2 weeks after Sarah's wedding, Camille called me at midnight. Turn on the news.
Now.
I fumbled for the remote as Aiden stirred beside me. The screen flickered to life, showing Ben's family's investment firm surrounded by FBI agents. Breaking news: major money laundering operation uncovered at Preston Investment Group. Sources say the scheme involves multiple prison inmates directing operations through family members. My phone buzzed again, Sarah. Mom, they're arresting Ben's parents. Dad says you did this. Tell me you didn't. A pounding at our front door cut me off. Through the peephole, I saw Nolan, his ankle monitor blinking angry red. Aiden, I whispered. Get Orion out through the back.
Now.
I'm not leaving you. Please. I pressed Camille's USB drive into his hand. Get this to the FBI. It's everything they need. The pounding grew louder. Open up, Elle. You've destroyed enough families tonight. I opened the door to find Nolan wild-eyed, rain-soaked. How dare you drag Ben's family into this? Me? I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. You're the one who used our daughter's in-laws to launder money. I was protecting her future, making sure she had what you couldn't provide after you ruined everything. By making her complicit in your crimes? By turning her against. Against who? The mother who abandoned her father? Who moved on with a replacement family while I rotted in prison? Lightning illuminated his face, and for a moment, I saw something break behind his eyes. You never understood, he whispered. Everything I did, the gambling, the money, it was to be enough. For her.
For you. No.
I stepped closer. It was to feel powerful. To prove you could control everything and everyone around you. Like you're doing now? Destroying Ben's family to get back at me? I didn't call the FBI. I met his gaze. Camille did. She kept evidence of everything, the real evidence, not your planted laptop files. She was your insurance policy, wasn't she? Except she found out about the offshore accounts you hid from her too. His face contorted. You're lying. Check your phone, Nolan. Check the news. Camille's turning state's evidence as we speak. He lunged forward, but before he could reach me, Sarah's voice cut through the rain. Don't touch her. We turned to find our daughter on the lawn, Ben beside her, both drenched and devastated. Sarah, honey, Nolan started. The FBI showed me everything. She cut him off. The real documents. The videos. How you used Ben's family. Her voice broke. How you used me. I did it for you. You did it for yourself. She was crying now, rain mixing with tears. And I chose you over Mom. I let you manipulate me into thinking she was the villain. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Nolan's ankle monitor blinked faster. It's over, I said softly. Let her go, Nolan. Let us all go. He looked at Sarah one last time, then at me. You think this makes you win? You've still lost her. She'll never forgive either of us now. Maybe not. Sarah stepped forward, taking my hand. But at least Mom never asked me to choose. As police cars surrounded the house, I held my daughter while they arrested her father, again. But this time, when he looked back, there was no triumph in his eyes. Only the hollow recognition that in trying to possess his family, he'd finally, irrevocably lost us. Through the rain, I saw Aiden return with Orion, the USB drive safely delivered. Sarah's grip on my hand tightened, and I realized that sometimes winning isn't about revenge at all. Sometimes it's about being there to catch the pieces when everything falls apart. 6 months after Nolan's second arrest, I sat in our backyard watching Sarah plant tulip bulbs in the spring soil. She'd moved in with us temporarily, while Ben dealt with his family's legal troubles, bringing an unexpected peace to our fractured family. These were Dad's favorite, she said, patting the earth around a bulb. He used to plant them every fall, remember? I nodded, remembering how proud Nolan had been of his garden. Before the gambling, before everything fell apart, his lawyer sent another letter, Sarah continued, not looking up. He's agreed to testify against the gambling ring. Full confession, names, everything. What changed his mind? She pulled a crumpled envelope from her pocket. This came with it. He asked me to show you. Inside was a photograph, Nolan and Sarah at her 5th birthday party, both covered in cake frosting and laughing. On the back, he'd written, I forgot who I was trying to be this happy. Isla emerged from the house carrying lemonade, followed by Orion with a plate of cookies. Our blended family had found its rhythm, even as we navigated the aftershocks of Nolan's choices. Ben called, Isla announced, settling beside Sarah. The prosecutors are offering a deal. With his cooperation, they might reduce his parents' sentences. Sarah's hands stilled in the dirt. Mom, I've been thinking about the house. The one Dad lost to the bank. What about it? Ben and I want to buy it back. Not to live in, but maybe as a fresh start. Something good from something broken. Aiden appeared in the doorway, watching us with quiet understanding. He'd shown me what love looked like without possession, what family meant without conditions. Camille sent over the last of the documentation, he said softly. The FBI's finished with everything. We can finally close that chapter. Not close, I corrected, watching my daughter's hands work the earth, planting hope in the same soil where betrayal had grown. Transform. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Rosalind, Nolan's mother, standing nervously on our porch. Since her son's arrest, she'd been trying to rebuild bridges, one awkward visit at a time. I'll get it, Sarah offered, brushing dirt from her knees. I invited her. She's trying. As Sarah went inside, Aiden took her place beside me. You okay? I watched through the window as my daughter hugged her grandmother, both of them crying and laughing at once. On the table between them, I could see another envelope, Nolan's handwriting visible on the front. He'll never change completely, I said quietly. But maybe that's not what this was about. What was it about? I thought of the photograph, of birthday cake and laughter, of tulip bulbs waiting to bloom. Learning to love what remains after forgiveness, even if it's not what we expected. Sarah returned with Rosalind, who clutched a familiar garden trowel, Nolan's old one. He wanted Sarah to have this, she explained, for the new house. My daughter took the trowel, running her fingers over the worn handle where her father's hands had gripped it countless times. Then she held it out to me. Plant one with me? She asked. For the future? As I knelt beside her in the dirt, Aiden's steady presence behind me and Rosalind watching through tears, I realized that sometimes the greatest act of love isn't in holding on or letting go. It's in planting seeds in soil that once seemed poisoned, believing that something beautiful might still grow. Sarah pressed a bulb into my palm. It'll bloom by summer, she said softly. Dad always said you have to trust the waiting. Yes, I agreed, thinking of all we'd lost and found and built again. You do,